Oh, you didn't get any of that?
Action.
Okay,
welcome back. Episode 3 of the Big Bad Podcast.
Yeah.
Final one of 2019.
Yeah.
Recording anyway.
Yeah, recording.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
So this will be out in the future.
Yeah.
Yeah, this will be out.
But the present is you're
February,
listening to it.
Anyway, today we're doing it different. A little less technical, a little bit more interesting. We have Robbie Soukiasyan.
There
You
go.
got it.
23 plus something like that. Platinum mixing, recording, producing, engineer. Grammy nominated. Close.
Grammy losing.
Still nominated.
Nominated.
Very close personal friend.
Yes.
And client / freelance engineer out of Big Bad. And yeah. Welcome.
Applause track.
Good to be here.
Good. Okay. To my left.
Brian, B-Rhye, artist, producer, engineer at Big Bad Sound.
Dan Destiny, producer, engineer, etc. Big Bad and at large.
And I'm Zach and I run the studio.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's jump right in. How are you? How was your Christmas?
That was great.
Yeah. Did you get anything cool?
Yeah, I got some cool stuff. I got a cool ring, and then I got a cool jacket. I bought myself a synthesizer,
What
you
kind
get?
of synthesizer?
a Prophet 6.
Oh, cool.
So,
Is it fun?
dude, it's so much fucking fun.
I'm so bad.
I'm just like,
Zach
I don't want
hates
to
synths.
use, I don't want to use VSTs anymore.
I don't hate synths. I'm just not good at using them.
Honestly, I'm not good at it either. I don't really know how everything works, so I just twist knobs
So it
until
sounds
shit
cool.
sounds good. And
what
it
I
also
do
comes
too.
with patches, so I'll go through patches and then I'll turn knobs and
Have you
something
made anything
happens.
with it yet?
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Of course.
That makes me feel better about not knowing how to use shit. Because I see Mike Dean and I'm like, damn, he probably knows what every knob
I think
does.
Mike Dean, Mike Dean.
He's got his 10,000 hours.
Mike Dean was like one of those guys that he can probably just build one.
Yeah.
You know?
Just so stoned turning
Yeah.
knobs. Weeks
Smoking
on
a
end.
fucking
Yeah.
blunt this big.
Well, cool. Good. I'm glad. What did you guys get anything cool for Christmas? Or holidays in general?
I'm trying to think about that. I got a food dehydrator.
That's tight.
Yeah,
What?
I'm
Sick.
I'm real stoked. I'm gonna go backpacking pretty soon. I'm gonna like dehydrate my own jerky and shit.
That's cool.
So,
Yeah.
what's a food dehydrator? How's that work?
It's like a bunch of stacked baskets that are basically like put together to be this like super low temperature oven.
Okay.
Like so you can put like vegetables or fruits in there and it just like sucks all the moisture out. Like cooks it real
sick.
slow.
I want one of those.
It's cool. They're super cheap. There's like 1 million of them on Amazon or wherever.
Alright.
Like yeah.
Tight.
You know, prep for the apocalypse. Like whatever you want, man.
I just like dry food.
I like
Real dry.
jerky.
Oh yeah. I'm
And
all
that
stoked about
astronaut
some.
ice cream. Can you
Oh.
make astronaut ice cream?
Wait, what?
TBD. I feel like it would
Have you been to like one of the like natural history museums or museums where it's like a space? It's like freeze dried ice
Yeah.
cream. It's kind of like
No.
compressed
It
cotton
is-
candy or something.
It's powdery. It's like a brick, but it's like it becomes creamy like as you like.
It's not good.
It's not good.
Oh, okay.
If you're like on that
Never
space station
mind.
though, it probably tastes great.
It's not
Yeah.
good. I got something fun. I got this for Christmas.
Ooh.
SM7?
Yeah, I got a gift certificate to Guitar Center.
Uh-huh.
And then when I logged into like your gift certificate portal, I had all these other like bullshit $20 random gift certificates over the years I just did not realize I owned. Because
Sick.
they all go to your email. I was
Yeah.
like, damn, I have enough to get an SM7. So I got an SM7,
Can never have so many
further investing
SM7s.
in the podcast. Yeah, I got 3 now.
Nice.
For Hanukkah.
For Hanukkah. That's true.
'Cause
Thanks
we're-
for pointing that out.
All cultures.
Yeah.
All both cultures.
Christmas and Hanukkah.
And Kwanzaa. Don't forget
Yeah,
Kwanzaa.
yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, and I got myself a flying V. I'm super stoked.
Sick.
Yeah, I'm
Where's
super
it at?
stoked. It's not here yet. It's
Oh, it's
coming in from New York.
Oh, okay. I mean, it's not going to be as good as Shark, but
Yeah.
No, Bruce over
Bruce.
there is.
I forget his name.
It's literally flying.
Yeah, it's flying from New
It's
York.
right now. Yeah.
Damn, I can't wait. Anyway, let's get down to business.
You
So
gotta-
I'm cutting you off.
yeah, cut me off.
We're gonna get down to
Coupon.
work. Okay, so let's talk about it. So you released a few things that went through here this past year. Folks and Company.
Folks and Company.
That was
Yep.
really tight.
That was really dope. I had a lot of fun doing that because we had one day to do everything.
That's
We
right.
had one day to record and mix 3 songs.
You did it live, right?
We did it all live.
With vocals and everything?
We did a few overdubs.
Yeah.
I think a few of the vocals are overdubs. We did some guitar overdubs, but it was mostly like old school, like get in one day, 3 songs, mix it, and and then I mastered it like 2 days later.
Yeah.
But
Give yours a break.
who cares about that? Most of the work was done like in one day, which is dope.
Well, let's talk about that because that's not uncommon for you when you're doing a bunch of. I think I remember talking to you about Garrett's Revenge, and you were like, most of that stuff, it's like whatever we were at the end of the day, right?
We did that in 4 hours.
Yeah.
No, less than 4. We did that in 3 hours.
It feels so good. It's so good. Like it's sloppy, but in like this cool
there's like
way.
this like sense of chaos and randomness in it. It's not like you don't think about it too much, so it does. That overthinking and overdoing doesn't come through.
Well,
in the
now
song.
I mean, I don't know if that's just particular to X or if like that's a common thing that you've been trying to work in with other projects. Like I find myself trying to do way less overthinking. I mean, with people's budgets, certain things like that, like I can't spend 1 million hours on certain things. They just have to get done, and it has to feel right. And then if it's accomplishing the thing, I keep moving. Like, how does it work with you?
Same thing.
Yeah?
I mean, there's certain projects where they take a little longer than others.
Yeah.
There's definitely been a couple of X songs where, it didn't take 4 hours or 3 hours or even a day to do. It took, we worked on it for maybe a few weeks.
Whoa.
But I think I don't like marrying myself to one type of work.
Sure.
Work
Yeah.
ethic is like, if a song, look, when I do a song, if it sounds good and it feels good, I try to leave it.
Right.
I try not to be like, well, now I gotta go in and zero the faders and mix it properly or whatever the fuck, Like it's like it feels good, it sounds good, everybody loves it. So why touch it? Maybe send it to a mastering engineer or whatever, but if it feels good, it feels good. If it sounds like it needs work, if something doesn't feel right, then yeah, spend some time on it. If you got to spend a year on that song to get it to where it needs to be, then do that.
That would stress me out. A year.
Yeah.
Luckily, that's probably a light occurrence. I have a Post-it note on the board. It's been there forever. Is it better or is it just different? I
Exactly.
super believe in the bell
Yes.
curve of like, yes, there's a point in which you're making the song better and you continue to make it better, and then it peaks and you stay at the top, you plateau for a second, maybe you're making changes and it's still cool. It's like still cool, and then the more you work on it, it just gets worse
It just
and
gets
worse.
worse. Yeah.
I super believe in that.
Yeah, you overcook it, dry it out.
Yeah.
I mean, part of your job, especially if you're the producer and not just the engineers, you're in charge of this project. You have to know, like, we've hit max potential. Like, between where our budget's at, where these songs are at, with everything, we nailed it,
Yeah, and I think one of the pitfalls that we fall into is like, if we do something and it doesn't, it's done really quickly, we're like, well, these people are paying me a lot of money.
I know.
And, like, I should, do this and that. This is, what if they think that, like, I'm trying to rush it or whatever.
Right.
But
I mean, what I try and tell people is, like, I've been doing this a long time, and you're not paying me for the one day we're doing this. You're paying me for the decade of experience it took me to get to be able to do this in one day, Like, thank God. You don't want to wait 3 months for me to get you this mix back. Like,
hell no.
No. So, speaking on that, maybe for, like, all you guys, because I ask this a lot. I don't know why. I don't know if it's something I've just always been curious about because I'm continually working on this. But when you're working on a mix, how long does it take on average?
On average, 6 hours.
I'm about there too.
On average.
Roughly 2
I'm
songs
not
a
there
day.
yet
Yeah.
at all.
No.
I'm still fairly new in my journey compared to all 3 of you.
That's okay. I mean, it took me. I spent weeks on mixes.
Yeah, it used
Yeah.
to take me a long time.
What about you?
About the same, depending on the song.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And depending on situation, sometimes I do, not sometimes, a significant portion of my mixes are attended. And sometimes that just turns into you book the day and we mix the song down.
Yeah. I really don't like doing attended mixes. But, I mean, it's a thing you got to make your peace with, I guess, at some point.
I love it. Everyone hates it. I
Yeah.
totally get it. Are you on the same page?
I love attended mixes. I prefer attended mixes.
If I don't do attended, I need to have like a long conversation of where's this song gonna go, because I don't want to give someone this thing. I'm like, oh, it's so cool. It's like tight and dry, and the vocals are distorted, and the drums are really aggressive. And the person's like, oh, I was thinking it was gonna be like way more spacey. Like, can we like put all these reverb? Can we basically remix the whole song because we didn't have good communication and you did the wrong thing.
Was there a rough mix?
I don't know. It hasn't happened in a long time.
Yeah.
So sometimes there isn't one because like I tracked it and they maybe didn't clearly talk about like what's gonna happen. We just cut a bunch of the drums. They took the vocals home or something and came back like, all right, here we go. Like, let's mix it down. And I go, okay. And there's nothing on there. And I just do what I like, which is the opposite of you, which is a lot drier usually.
Me?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
You love reverb.
Oh yeah, facts. Yeah, I do love reverb.
And I have a love-hate relationship with reverb.
I get it.
Yeah,
I agree.
I'm probably on the same level.
Yeah.
I love it. I like the weekend wet sound.
Oh yeah,
You know, like,
yeah. I think it's kind of an interesting thing about like the moment that we're at in like what recording technology is like, though, what you're talking about, where I imagine there used to be more of a clearer line between like you're producing something and then you're mixing it, where like those sorts of choices got made during this stage, and then it's like, okay, we have this day, we're going down to stereo, and then that's it. Whereas now it's like so much of it happens in the box and so much of it is digital processing, where it's like kind of arbitrary, like making decisions about how something is going to sound overall on like an artistic level versus like, oh, I'm just going to make this louder and punch harder and crisper, and you know, like the stuff that I think of as being like straight up mixing and only mixing.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, mine's blurred.
When you're mixing out, because I know you're using it for a while. I don't know if you're still doing it. Are you going out of the box still, or are you all in the box now?
Again, it depends. I'm not. I hate like This is one of the biggest things I've learned is not to stick to a formula or like one way of working, because that always bites me in the ass.
Well, that's interesting. So, do you have mixing templates set up, or do you always just start?
I don't
from
have
nothing?
a mixing template. I start from nothing.
Me neither, dude.
Zero. I can't do a template.
Building one. I started building one just because I realized there's like a few things I always do. Like I do like kind of a Michael Browery choice of parallel compressions on vocals. It's kind of annoying to set up those sends every time. And do all that.
Yeah.
So like I started building one, but I haven't done a single mix where I've used it yet.
See, I'm kind of lazy. I don't go too crazy with like the parallels, compressions and stuff. I always try to keep it as simple as possible.
Yeah.
Partly because I'm lazy and partly because I always feel like to me, like the way I mix, my mixes always sound better when everything's just more simplified.
Okay.
And very,
in what way? So like
just
direct
less
on?
less crazy with the auxes, not like a million of auxes, million sends. I don't do parallel compression because I'm horrible at it.
Yeah.
It never sounds good when I do it for some reason. Like other people do it, I'm like, how'd you do that? It sounds so good. And I try to do it, it's like, nah, it just sounds bad.
Do you sidechain?
Yeah.
I sidechain in sometimes, like very rarely I sidechain.
Really?
Yeah.
Rarely. That's interesting because I'll do it. I mean, kick to bass, I'll do a lot.
Yeah.
Especially if it's like
Again,
players.
And it's probably because I'm not good at sideshading,
It can sound really bad.
I'd
really
rather
easily.
go in there and just manually
Just duck it.
it or do the edits myself
Yeah.
than sidechain. Because that always, for some reason, doing that sounds better to me.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I'm not good at sidechaining, so
I'm not a big fan of it either.
yeah.
I see it as like a last resort kind of thing.
Yeah, I like sidechaining in the production world as an effect.
Yeah.
Audible
like pumping.
sidechaining.
Audible, pumping and stuff.
It's kind of different,
Yeah.
I think.
Dang, that's crazy.
That's
Okay,
interesting.
well, let's talk about some of the stuff you do like to do. Is there anything you do even though you don't have templates? Like every mix, is there like a plugin or a type of thing that you always kind of just immediately put on?
Yeah. I always start with the VU meter on my master bus.
Oh, just to look at
when
it?
I get levels, like I want to make sure that like I'm not hitting my master bus too hard.
Oh. Are you planning on, when you're doing this as majority, are you going to be mastering it, or are you treating it as if you're sending it out?
Treating as if I'm sending it out. I mean, like every mix I do, I always kind of have to do the mastering because I can't send it to the client, sounding not like, low and stuff. They'll be like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah, definitely.
So, just, I definitely do that. I've been using the Plugin Alliance BX Digital plugin.
Yeah.
Just going in and just finding those, little build-up areas and just bringing those down maybe half a dB or 0.2 dB.
How far into the mix are you doing before you start doing master bus tweaks?
I go back and forth.
Yeah. So you don't wait till you're like, all right, it's basically ready, and then you put it on?
No, like maybe a quarter or halfway there.
Cool.
I'll start doing a little bit of master bus tweaks.
Do you mix into any stuff on your master, like straight off the bat?
I used to. But
not anymore?
Lately, I don't like adding compression anymore on my master bus at all.
Whoa, for real?
Yeah, wow.
It just takes something away that I used to add it a lot back in the day because like that was the thing to do.
For sure.
Like that's what everybody did. So I was like, okay, I got to add compression on the mat. Sometimes it sounds really good.
Yeah.
But like sometimes it just kind of I feel like I lose space and that like 3D-ness or whatever it's called. Like I feel like stuff gets kind of cramped together and it's like even just doing like a quarter of a dB of compression, just as soon as it goes on there, I don't like what happens.
Are you doing anything to work on your like peak loudness and your crest factor ratio of like, are you doing any saturation or anything to kind of just bring transients down?
Saturation, clipping is a big one. I love clippers.
What do you use for clipping on?
So lately I've been using this one from this company called Ven Audio. I think it's called V-Clip.
Okay.
So that one's really sick. And then there's another one by this company called SIR. It's called Standard Clip, I believe.
I think I know what you're talking
really
about.
Really cool. Bose Digital makes one, big clipper.
Right. That's a really
I don't like putting that on my master bus though.
Really? But you like it on stuff?
I like it on individual.
So you're clipping in multiple stages?
Yeah.
So even though you don't have master bus compression on, you're not having problems getting things loud?
No.
Yeah.
And then, so I don't have problems getting things loud because I kind of take it in stages before I hit the master bus.
Sure.
And then, I put limiters on my master bus too.
Are you doing that with your deliverables to mastering engineers or just for your stuff that you like give to your clients to listen to loud?
Sometimes I'll send a mastering engineer a reference with my limiters on there.
Yeah.
Because there's been times where it comes back worse from the mastering engineer.
And there's been times where like I have a very specific client where we're so careful about exactly what comes out of the studio. And then it's usually ready. Like it's kind of mastered at that point. It's not crazy loud, but maybe it's like -7. It's like mastered loudness enough. And then he'll be like, well, I just want to send it to, my friend John Green is a fucking phenomenal mastering engineer. He just did the Billie Eilish record and he's doing really killer. We're going to have him on here, I think. But
cool.
I'll usually send it to him because he knows me and trusts like what I do and can tell me like, please take these limiters off. Yeah. But sometimes I'll just be like, here it is. We love it. Can you make it any better? And he'll say either take this off or he'll be like, yeah, let me give him a shot. And he'll work with it even though I'm limiting the piss out of it. He's just like, whatever.
That's what makes a great mastering engineer.
Yeah, like give it to me 32 float or something.
Fuck it. Yeah, exactly.
That's sick.
Yeah. And so I get nervous about it though. I wanted to talk to you because, I've done some label stuff, and most of the label stuff I'm working on has been in the engineering side. So my deliverables are just, here's your hard drive.
Yeah.
When you're working with like a larger label and you have to send stuff out, what are they asking for from you as the mixer for your final like mixes to be delivered to the mastering engineer or final masters to the label?
So every label is different.
Sure.
But for example, I can give you like Sony has a very specific way of receiving files.
Okay.
When you finish a project for Sony, they need all the stems. They need the Pro Tools session. They need, clean mix. They need, instrumental, acapella. So they need like basically everything before they pay you.
Do they do instrumental and then also TV where like the backgrounds are in, but there's no lead?
Usually in that case, like, I'll ask if they want that. if they want to be super specific. But so that's how Sony does. Sometimes you can be like, hey, I'm not gonna send you my Pro Tools session because it's got my tricks in there. So they'll be like, all right, just as long as you send all the stems.
And when you do that, so I guess this might play into why you like doing certain simple things. So when you're doing stems, for instance, like if all your drums are going to a drum bus, do you just print your drum bus, or do you print the kick through the drum bus and then the snare through the drum bus? Like, how does that?
I usually just print the whole drum bus.
You're just like, this is a drum stem.
And they'll take that.
And they'll take it.
Cool.
Yeah, because I mean, again, unless sometimes what I'll also do is I'll make a pro, like if there's stuff in my Pro Tools session that I don't want other people to see.
Okay.
Which is rare.
Yeah.
But sometimes I'll usually tell people what I'm doing, but there's a couple of things that I like to keep to myself.
Okay.
I'll just make a Pro Tools session and just take off a bunch of the plugins or whatever that I don't want people to see. I'll bake it in. Yeah, I'll commit in Pro Tools, which is super easy now.
I know, right?
Amazing. You just
It's so good.
2 clicks and you're ready to go. You know, so
yeah, I get that. That makes sense. Yeah. So, and then what about like X's subsidiary Capital? Right? He was on Caroline, which is Capital's distribution arm. Okay. Yeah. Well, so what were they asking for?
They didn't care.
They didn't care.
No. I usually the standard thing that I always send is, the mix without limiters, the mix with the limiters, acapella, clean, and instrumental.
Okay. And they didn't care about stems and all that stuff?
No, I mean, if they ask for it, I'll send it, but other than that, they don't really
and then, did you have to deal with any placement stuff? Like, a song got placed in, I don't know, a commercial or a show or something. Were they referring back to you, or was that covered in your deliverables?
The placement stuff that I got was in video games.
Okay.
So they didn't. I think usually with video games,
they just want the song.
They just want the song as is. They don't need anything else.
Right.
So I haven't dealt with like the TV stuff yet.
Yeah. The only thing I've done some like independent projects that needed it, and it was kind of interesting. So they wanted stems, like just general. It would be like drums, bass, like rhythm style instruments, and then lead style, like melodic content versus like harmonic, I guess, and then vocals. So because like if the dialogue came on and you go to instrumental so the vocal doesn't distract, if all of a sudden a lead line is just wailing, it's still as distracting as the vocal. So they would go like all the way bare bones. No like melodic content really besides the rhythm instruments. And then they faded back in. So like the deliverables were kind of weird. And it didn't affect my mix that much because I kind of knew what was happening. So there's all these like submasters.
And in those cases, you can't really hear what's going on in the mix that much anyway.
No,
they're
like remixing your whole song. Exactly, you don't need like the perfect mix going on. I mean,
you're not
but
like, oh man, I can't hear that 10K. Right.
But the soundtrack is your mix.
Yeah, soundtrack is the mix.
But not necessarily your master. Because they got to remaster it for the soundtrack, flow of the soundtrack.
Yeah, exactly.
Super weird. So, are you not worried, but are you considering deliverables stuff while you're working on these larger projects? Or are you just kind of just making the song and then?
No, I mean I just make the song, and then when I'm done with everything, all that extra stuff I do at the end.
Cool.
Because that's the boring stuff. I don't want to.
Are you handling that? Do you have like a manager or anything like that, or are you just dealing with it directly?
I usually deal with it directly. I have a manager that's he kind of works on really big picture stuff, right? So like if there's a contract involved or a big negotiation involved, if I got a placement with an artist and I got to negotiate with their team to get what I need, then he steps in. But all the little stuff, I'll usually take care of because it's not that much work.
Well, having a manager, a lot of people as producers or mixers are thinking like, if only I could get that, then this would happen. From the people I've talked to who either have them or have reached out to managing me, it's very clear, like, I'm not getting you work. I'm just alleviating work off of you, and maybe I have connections.
So again, that's another situation that depends on the manager.
Yeah,
because
so-
there's managers, man. They'll go out there and they'll hustle.
Right.
They will hustle. They'll bring you work. They'll be in and out of sessions playing your. I mean, if you're as a producer, you know, they'll play your beats in other sessions and get you placements. You know, and so you know. But as an engineer, when you get a manager, again, it depends on their connections.
Yeah.
Right?
The people I've talked to as more of an engineer and mixer and things like that, it was, I'll take pressure off you so you can focus on your art.
Yeah,
And
if
I
you
have
just-
that. That's
yeah,
Jack.
if you just need somebody to just handle purely business stuff,
Yeah.
you know, again, it's like if you're at that point where you can't handle it, then yeah, get somebody to do that.
So is your guy a hustler? Is he pushing
he's-
you?
He's like a little bit hustler, but mostly he's just really good at negotiating.
great.
And I hate negotiating with
Yeah, I get it. Same.
with you know big artists and labels and their lawyers and stuff. So I got a lawyer and I got you know my manager that'll kind of take care of that stuff for me, and then they'll tell me like this is what they're presenting. Do you want to go with it?
Okay. And so you feel that they bring enough as far as the negotiation so that they can hit a price where it's probably compensating for whatever percentage you have to give up to them.
Absolutely.
So they're paying
Otherwise,
for themselves.
yeah, if they don't pay for themselves and then some, then what's the point?
Right. Yeah. I
But
mean,
they pay for themselves and you know twice over. So it's like
well, how did you end up getting someone? What happened? How did it happen? Yeah.
so it was this guy Ben Madahi
Okay.
who actually has a publishing company called Unrestricted, and you know I signed with this publishing company it was around the time Question Mark by X came out
Got it.
when I got 4 placements on that album. So
I want to talk about that too, but we'll stick to this. for a
yeah,
second.
so I signed with him, and then like we just kind of built a friendship. We became friends, and he was also my publisher. And Ben's been in the music industry for a while, so he knows all the connections. He's negotiated. He's managed people before. He knows all the ins and outs. So, at some point I was like, hey, do you want to just kind of like also help me out on the management side and the negotiation side?
Right.
And he's like, yeah, sure. Well, why not?
Cool. So did he reach out to you at that point then? Or
To do the management stuff?
yeah.
No, I asked him.
So you just asked him.
Yeah,
Okay,
I asked
cool.
him because I didn't want to deal with negotiating. My lawyer did some negotiating before that.
Yeah. So you
But-
had the lawyer first. And was this
Yeah.
specifically for you as the producer, Robbie, or was this like a lawyer you had and then he became your music
No,
lawyer?
he was strictly entertainment lawyer.
Okay.
For producer Robbie.
And you got that first.
Yes, absolutely. If you're producing, get a good lawyer.
How do you go about that?
I asked around.
Yeah.
I was referred to my lawyer, and I looked up to who he was and stuff, and he represented some big artists and stuff, and he was in the Billboard top 100 lawyers or whatever.
Sick.
So I was like,
that's
okay, it should be,
Yeah.
it should be good. So like the first negotiation that he did, he actually like kicked ass, and like
Hell yeah.
he made sure that I got paid very well.
Good.
So
Great.
I was like, yeah, I'm gonna keep
That's
him.
dope.
That's cool. So you advise, do you think, not to downplay on either one, but if someone is in a lesser position, they don't quite have the credits yet, but they're really taking themselves seriously and trying to build their entity as a business, a lawyer first?
Yeah, well, what a lot of people don't know is that entertainment lawyers, most of them, you don't have to pay them up front.
Right.
They take 5%
Right.
of whatever you get. So
And 5% really isn't that
that's
bad.
good to know.
Yeah.
it's not bad at all because
Yeah.
again, they're paying for it and then some.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, if they can get you more than 5% of
They're
what your
gonna get you
normal
more.
work is,
Yeah, exactly.
Great.
So a good lawyer is not gonna represent you if you don't have anything going on.
Sure.
But if you're about to get that first, decent placement, then they'll talk to you. They'll do that negotiation for you.
Yeah, speaking of placement.
I got a question too.
Yeah,
Zach.
go for it.
Oh, okay. This is kind of a multiple part question, but like, what's your origin story? Like, where are you from? How did you start into music? Like, when did that transition period for you start when it was like what's the word, like a pipe dream compared to actual business when you started making money? Like, what was that transition? Because I'm in that stage where I relate to that, you know, like I just graduated. I'm still in that gray area where it's like, it's not a hobby anymore, but it's also not my job yet. You know what I'm saying?
Before I answer that, I gotta use the bathroom.
Okay.
This is gonna be a long one. I'll be right back.
Pause. Okay,
We're back.
All right.
we're back. How's everyone feeling? Refreshed?
Great. Yeah.
Alleviated?
Refreshed? Yes. Relieved.
Where were we? Origin story.
Yeah.
Take it
story.
over.
Okay. So I moved here in 1997 from Armenia.
Oh, shit. I didn't know that.
I was born in Armenia in Yerevan. And basically, it's, you know, the old story of parents want to make a better life for their children or their child, because I was the only child at the time. So we moved here in 97. And actually, my whole life, I've always been into music. Ever since I can remember, I just wanted to play drums. And my mom's cousin used to have a drum set because they used to have like a Beatles cover band.
Oh, cool.
But of course, my parents would never let me play drums because we lived in an apartment and it was too loud.
Yeah.
So at some point, they bought me a guitar, and it was an electric guitar, and I had no idea how to work. So I got this electric guitar, and I'm trying to how do you get distortion and stuff? Like, you know, I was a little kid, so I was like, do I just plug this thing into an outlet? You know?
Oh man.
So we went back to Guitar Center, and the dude like sold me a cheap crate amp.
Nice.
And I brought that home, and I plugged it in, and I played, and I was like, oh, it sounds stupid. It sounds boring. It's clean. And I'm messing with all the things, and I accidentally pressed the overdrive button, and it was like, oh, you know, it was just one of those moments. And from there on, I was just like, yes, you know, play guitar. Anyway, you know, fast forward to playing in punk bands and, you know, doing really tiny, shitty tours out. Wouldn't even call tours. And then, you know, a lot of bands breaking up and a lot of new bands starting. And, you know, at some point I was in my early 20s. I was like, man, I don't know if I want to do this band thing anymore. Like, I can't like handle the personalities and dealing with people. So then I kind of like stopped doing music and got a real job.
Doing what?
Basically making teeth. I was a dental technician.
Wait, what? I didn't know any of this.
So I basically made grills.
That's kind
I
of
made
fire,
dentures.
though.
I made, like, you know, if you got your front tooth knocked out, I would make a replacement one out of ceramic and metal.
Damn.
So that's what I did. And like, I kind of fell into like the day-to-day 9 to 5, became a supervisor, you know, I was leading that life. And
Oh no.
yeah, it was horrible. And then, I don't know, just like one day I kind of woke up and I was like, I don't want to fucking do this. I want to do music.
Yeah.
So I was a supervisor at this dental lab, and then just one day, like, I forgot, like, they told me to do something and they pissed me off because, like, you know, and I was like, I went home for lunch, and then I texted my boss and I said, I'm not coming back into work.
Damn.
And he was like, oh, so you're taking a day off? I'm like, no, I'm like never coming back in.
Damn.
So I quit my job. I had no plans. I had like,
That's swag, though.
I had nothing to fall back on. I had, you know, a little bit of money in my savings account, but like enough to get me by for a month.
Oh no.
And then I would go broke. So then I hit up my friend Des, who worked at this place called the Redwood in downtown LA.
The bar on like 3rd or whatever.
The bar, it's on Hill and 2nd or something like that. And it was, you know, it was a small kind of dive pirate bar, you know, and they have bands play there. It's a tiny stage. And I was like, hey, do you guys need a live sound guy? And keep in mind, I had no idea how to do live sound.
Wait, so what year was this?
This was, I'm really bad with the years, but this must have been 6 years ago.
Okay.
Around.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense.
Ago.
Yeah.
So then she's like, oh, yeah, matter of fact, we are looking for someone. Sweet. And then I didn't hear from her for a while. And then one day, the bar manager or the booker called me last minute and was like, "Oh, you need to come down and cover for this guy named Dirty Ed, who was their main sound guy." And anyway, that's a whole different. Dirty Ed is a whole different story unto itself.
Sure.
But so I went in, and I've never done live sound before. I don't know how all this shit is hooked up. I don't know, what channels are going into what on the stage, and also everything was all fucked up. Like, it was not wired
Of course.
correctly.
It's a shitty dive bar.
So, like, I arrived like 2 hours early, and I forgot who was playing, but it was a big artist that was actually playing. It was going to be like a sold out night. Like, it was going to be packed.
I didn't know that happened there.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Jack saw
Green Day played.
Green Day, yeah. Billy Joe.
What?
Yeah.
No shit.
Yep.
Damn.
Yeah, they've had a few like big artists come through.
Crazy.
Anyway, so I'm in there, like, I'm like looking at how everything's wired, and I'm like going to the stage, and I got everything set up, and the first band goes on, and I'm like, I don't even know if this is like, if there's gonna be sound or anything, but like it happened, and they played, and the booker is like, "Hey, you're doing a pretty good job." I'm like, "I have no idea what I'm doing." So, I was there for a while. I was, doing the live sound thing at the Redwood. And then I think it was around the same time, like, I met Zach through Eddie.
Through Eddie, yeah.
And I think I did a couple of sessions at the old Big Bad Sound in Silver Lake around that time.
Did. And I was playing the Redwood for a little while.
Yeah, and Zach played at the Redwood, and they were fucking loud as shit.
Wait, Jurassic Witch?
No, this was the Detro.
And it was like one of those memes, it's like when you tell the guitar player to turn down, and then they actually want to crank it all the way.
Just cut the mic.
Anyway, so yeah, it was fun. Did that for a while, and then I was like, man, that's not a future. There's no future in doing sound at a dive bar.
Yeah.
So then I started looking at my options, and I was like, well, I'm gonna try to apply at a studio to get an internship. So I applied at every fucking studio in within like a 50-mile radius of LA.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time I was living near Pasadena, and there was this place called what was it called? Firehouse Recording Studio.
Yeah.
And they hit me up. They said, "Come in for an interview." And I went in for an interview, and the girl that was working there was like, "I don't usually like call in people to do interviews that aren't from school, because I never went to school for any of it."
It's a good point. Yeah.
And I guess there's like laws and stuff that you can get in trouble.
Oh, man.
But she was like,
deal with all that. Yeah.
But she was like, "I don't know. Something told me that I should call you." So I did the interview, and it's really weird because a few days later or a week later, she called and she said, "Hey, look, I can't really hire you because you didn't go to school, but hit up this place called Nightbird Studios in West Hollywood. And I know that the studio manager, just hit them up, tell them I sent you." So I was like, all right, whatever, cool. So I hit up Nightbird. I sent him my resume. I said, I think the girl's name was Destiny.
Okay.
I think that was her name. Super
Fitting.
awesome. I don't know. Yeah, right? I
I was about to say that too.
Yeah,
Yeah. So I hit them up, and I said, Destiny, said I can, hit you guys up about an internship. I guess that was like, Nightbird was like one of the only big studios still taking in, interns that were not, getting credits.
Okay.
So I went for an interview, and it was funny because I didn't really know Pro Tools that well at the time.
My God,
and like,
really?
you got to know Pro Tools.
Of course. Especially at Nightbird.
Especially at Nightbird.
Yeah.
And then the head engineer was like, "So on a scale of 1 to 10, how good are you at Pro Tools?" And I was like, "I'm like an 8 or a 9." I was probably a 2,
Nice.
But, fake it till you make it, I
Totally,
guess, right?
dude. Totally.
And then I didn't hear from them for like 4 weeks or whatever. And I was like, yeah, probably didn't get it. And then one day they called me. I was like, "Yeah, we would love to have you come in and intern for us." And I was like, the happiest day of my life.
So in that time, were you practicing Pro Tools in case?
So in that time, I was broke. So I had like my cousin was in college. So I had to use his college email to get educational discount on Pro Tools. So I got Pro Tools and I was practicing the shit out of it. Learned all the shortcuts and everything. And again, still, I don't even know if they're going to call me back.
Right.
Yeah, so they called me, and then, I started my internship there, and, like, I was on, like, 110% hustle mode. Like, I was like, I'm going to be the best fucking intern, like, this place has ever had. Good. Those toilets are going to be so clean, you can eat your lunch off of them. So, yeah, I started interning and kicked ass, and, at some point, I told the studio manager, I was like, hey, I'm ready to become an assistant. And it was like 2 months in. And usually it takes
2 months. I was about to ask you.
It usually takes like 6 months to a year, I think.
Damn.
And he was like, all right.
Whoa.
So he gave me my first session, which was just like some rich kid's mom bought her son's studio time to make beats in a studio. So, easy session. And then, a couple of more sessions later, and then there was like a session with Boost Mobile.
Okay.
And Scarface.
Oh, okay.
And they came in.
The rapper, right?
The rapper, Scarface,
cool.
yeah.
I want to make sure. Like my Scarface?
So they came in and we thought they had an engineer. So I was like, the assistant, they're like, we don't have an engineer. And it was like, nobody was available to engineer. So it's like, my studio manager was like, you engineer. All right.
Nice. Like the kind of the classic story, right?
And then, so I get, I get behind the desk. I have the mic set up and everything. The producer hands me a Pro Tools session. I open it up and it's a clusterfuck. It just plugins and everything's unorganized, and Scarface is in the vocal booth. He's ready to do his little, part for this advertisement, and I'm like sweating. I'm like so scared, and I'm like, there's latency, and like I have to change all the I/O and everything, and the way the way this producer had everything set up was all fucked. Right. So the next thing I know, Scarface is yelling at me. And I don't know, man. That was like one of the scariest things ever. When Scarface starts yelling at you, I was like, oh, fuck. Like my balls shriveled up and went back inside me. But we, after fiddling around for a little bit and, the producer being nice enough to be like, hey, like I gave him a session. It was kind of fucked up. Like it's not his fault, I got it to work. And so, we did Scarface's parts. They came back in. I was like, all right, cool. We're good. I was like sweating, got through it. And then the Boost Mobile people were like, all right, well, let's mix this down so we can air it. I was like, okay.
Okay.
Anyway, so mix it down. Then that was like my first real session.
Sick.
And then from there on, I got, like the manager trusted me more, so I did more sessions and stuff like that. And I think the next, big one was when Gucci Mane came in. And again, we thought he was going to have an engineer, but he didn't. So I went to my manager. I was like, I want to engineer Gucci Mane.
Yeah, hell yeah. Good.
And, just as a tip to interns, if you're an intern, you do that. Like, go and show the studio manager and the other people at the studio that you want to do this. Don't just be really good at cleaning toilets and not show initiative to be in the studio. Ask questions. Know when to ask questions. Obviously, don't bother people when they're trying to work. But ask questions. Show initiative. Tell them. Show them that you want to be in that room.
Right.
Otherwise, you're just going to come in, clean toilets, and go home. And that's all you're going to do.
You had those interns. I mean, Brian was not. Brian was the initiative showing person.
Exactly. Be good at both. Show initiative and also be good at cleaning toilets.
Yeah, I mean, just stick on this for a second because I do think this is kind of important. The reason why we make people clean the toilets, clean this and that is there's tiered responsibility.
Yeah.
And the top of those tiers are responsible not only for making sure it goes well, but like here, if the top is engineering the session, if that artist, and let's say it's a big artist connected to a very important label that could bring you tens of thousands of dollars, if not more, of work, if that session goes poorly, it's not, oh, that engineer at Big Bad did a bad job. It's, oh yeah, I tried it, Big Bad sucks. Like that session was terrible.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're responsible for the studio you work for and the quality control and the name of that brand. You're not just, it's not on you, it's the whole company.
Engineering is also like a pretty like low ego kind of path, you know,
For
like
sure.
there's not like famous engineers except two other engineers unless they're also producers or something.
Yeah,
Like,
you have to kind of also be a producer. So when we're like, you know, clean this or do that, and we see that it's a half-assed done job poorly, where it's like not clean. Like you can see like the one swipe mark across where like they just barely wiped the thing. It's like, I don't trust you to handle my $15,000 microphone in front of my very important client to make sure this is going to go well. You have to show me I can handle this and I can go above and beyond. We had an intern that did basically he would always try and hit the bare minimum, but he would fuck something up. So then he's not even hitting the bare minimum instead of way overshooting to do the best job you possibly can.
Yeah.
And then if you mess it up, you still did more than we asked. So it's like, it's cool, man. Here's how you do that. Not, let me just barely do what you asked me and screw it up so I didn't get anything
I don't
done.
understand why some kids do that. It's
They're either
like,
not
why
taught
are
it-
you wasting your time? Why are you even here if you're not going to try, if you're not going to do your best?
Unfortunately, some people feel entitled that they deserve it.
Yeah. I
Or
guess
they
there's
feel
that.
like they're above it.
Yeah.
And when the thing is, you probably are. And again, I'm not telling you to clean toilets because you deserve to clean toilets. It's I'm trusting you with a low responsibility thing so that I know I can trust you with a higher responsibility thing.
Exactly.
That's all
And,
it's about.
I mean, a clean studio is very important.
Literally,
You know?
if the session goes well, but the studio is not clean and is gross,
Yeah.
they might not come
They
back.
might not come back. Yep.
And it's on
If there's piss stains on the toilet,
anything.
people
like
notice
that.
like little things like that. Like
There's
artists,
no paper towels in the bathroom. They have to like wipe it. Like,
exactly. Just those little things add up. And subconsciously, when you're a producer or an artist or just a client in the studio, and even though you're not like, oh man, that studio, there was piss stains on the bathroom. It's just like you capture that, and then next time you want to book a studio, you might not book that studio.
Right.
And that matters when like artists camp out. There's like artists
Yeah.
that camp for like 2 weeks. Like
Sure.
I'm working on an album. I'm in LA for 2 weeks. Like we're setting up camp at Big Bad,
Yeah.
And it's like if it doesn't feel like Jack says it all the time, like if it's a hotel business, like
Yeah,
for
yeah.
real.
people are
Hospitality.
staying here, So if it doesn't feel like they're home for 2 weeks, it's like I'm not gonna come back to that place.
Yeah. Everyone's responsible for providing some sort of vibe and environment. And if you can't contribute to that, even in your small part, there's no way you're sticking around.
Yeah.
There's so many people that want this opportunity.
Of course.
Yeah.
So many people in schools and out that are fighting to do it, just like you were. And if you don't care or think you're above it, like you're not gonna get anywhere. Like,
Yeah.
So I own this place and I clean the toilets multiple times a week.
Oh hell yeah.
I have
Dude, I cleaned the
interns.
toilets
Yeah.
when I was, and I had platinum plaques working at, Nightbird. I was
Yeah.
like, if I went in there and I saw the toilet was dirty, I was gonna clean it. I don't care.
Yeah, part of Big Bad is it's not the hierarchy where you're in here.
Yeah.
We're all part of this like family communal thing, providing an environment, and you just do your part to make sure the environment is
Exactly.
right. Like it's so fucking important. I cannot stress enough how important and like how, like you said, like ego just needs to step aside.
Yes.
Like
absolutely.
it's only about the artist and the experience.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think that's like why an artist goes into a studio like this or any commercial studio. It's like you can have a $15,000 microphone at home. You can have a nice.
You can rent one for a day.
Like you can make all that stuff happen, but just having everything like feel right and go smooth and like you're comfortable the whole time, and then you play it back and it sounds great. The seamlessness of it. Like there's so many moving parts in that.
Yeah, I mean, Brian and I were setting up for a vocal session that Brian was doing, and we get all the lights in cool colors, and we set up this tray table beside them, and there's a phone charger there, and there's
The phone charger.
Yeah, there's a phone
Having
charger
the
ready
phone
to
charger at arm's length
Yeah.
at all times.
Yeah. And there's a
Yeah.
long
Crazy.
cable so they can
Yeah.
hold it and look at and
That
be on the
might be
mic.
the difference between the artists being like, yeah, I'm never coming back to the studio,
Yeah.
or I'm definitely going to
So
come back
all
to the
those little
studio.
things. There's the hot water tea kettle,
Yeah.
and like there's a pad of paper for writing notes, and on it said like "Welcome,
Yeah.
Jasmine." you
Zach
know?
wrote that too. I saw. I was
Like,
like, damn, this is
You
smart.
want them to feel like
The little details.
they could technically do this anywhere.
Of course.
Yeah.
They could do it in their friggin' closet. They could rent a
Absolutely.
mic, whatever. Why are they coming to you? It's for an experience. It's to feel like a rock star. It's to feel, we have the vocal booth all set up and there's Christmas lights strung up and like we're letting them shoot out multiple mics and really making, sure we're taking care of them as the artist and for 4 hours of vocals,
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's what you
And
do.
she loved it. Yeah, she had
Yeah.
a great time.
Yeah. And you want, especially if you're trying to be kind of, not expensive, but fair priced, but it costs some money, way more than your friend's place. You want them to think they're getting a deal because they're getting
Well,
treated
yeah. I mean,
so well.
if you're an independent band or independent artist, it's a lot of money.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
definitely a lot of money.
It's a lot of money, and it's like you worked hard for that money, and you want to have that experience.
And
Yeah.
especially if you're just doing something like vote, where it's like, and this isn't always the case, but let's say you're a drummer, unfortunately, and and you're having a bad day. More than likely, you can hit the drum kit and you can do your job, and it'll sound great and fine. The engineer takes care of making sure the sounds are good, but you can play the drums. You can tune them; they sound right, whatever. If you're a singer and you're mentally in a bad spot,
That's over.
it's done.
That's done.
The session's
Yeah.
done. And it's like, as bad as I feel about that, I'm not, it's whatever it was, like your family's pet died or something and you're really bummed. I have to pay my engineer. I have to pay my bills. Like, you put down a deposit, I can't give you your money back. Sometimes, depending on it, we'll just recycle the deposit into a different day. And if it's someone we know,
Yeah.
we try, but like, they have to spend that money.
Yeah.
So like, if they're having a bad day and you can turn it around and save that session,
If you can turn around somebody's bad day and save that session, dude, they will love you forever.
Yeah.
Exactly.
They will come back every time.
exactly. So
real.
showing up that extra half hour, and setting up the tea and like
Having coffee ready or
having
whatever. Yeah.
all these little things that seem like nothing, if they're just there and having their name written on the thing and blah, 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 they'll feel better. They'll come in
course.
being like, even as small, like I do this, especially if I'm setting up beforehand, like a drum, if it's the house drum kit or the vocal stuff, and there's like, a headphone amp and a thing and a tray and a music stand, like having a very clear path of like, oh, I just walk right here and stand here. And like, I don't have to like step over stuff and the cables are
Wires
under
and
the
shit,
rugs.
yeah.
Like all these things where it's just like, you enter the room, you know exactly where you need to be and how to get there. And you're like in your comfortable space is so important.
Yeah.
And you learn that by doing internships and stuff.
Yep.
Like I didn't learn that shit in school, and
No.
I did go to school. And I'm not bashing school. Like there's a lot of stuff in there I did learn that was super helpful. But like taking the internship and being around and being like, yeah, my job is to clean toilets, but toilets are clean. I'm allowed to hang out. I'm going to study what's going on. Or I'm going to show up early and be like, hey, we got 2 hours. We're both here before the session starts. I'll make sure the toilet's clean. Take me like 5 minutes. Can I help you set up?
Yeah.
Yes, you can help me set up. Don't touch that, but you can touch this.
Yeah.
Yeah, find out what can you do and what are they willing to let you do.
Yeah.
Can you relabel the patch bay? If they
No.
say do it, if they say sure, relabel the fucking patch bay. That's the best. That's the fastest way you're gonna learn what every patch point does
That's
on that
true.
patch bay.
Let's do it right. Because
Yeah.
if you don't, fuck.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for real.
No, but all that's super important. So sticking on that, so you worked your ass off, worked
Yeah.
from being intern to
Intern
assistant to engineer.
Yeah. So
Then what happened?
So then I was engineering a lot. Big sessions, small sessions. Around that. We did the Havana session with Camila, which is really sick.
At Nightbird?
At Nightbird, she booked out all 3 rooms, and we had like 3 engineers, and she was it was a writing camp,
Oh,
so
that's tight,
she's
yeah.
just going back and forth through all the rooms. And then the biggest like changing thing from there on was one day when X came in, and totally random, I just happened to be there assisting a Noah Cyrus session. And my studio manager, pulled me aside and said, "Hey, we got this other artist coming in. I'm going to assign somebody else to assist Noah Cyrus. Can you engineer?" And he was like, "It's a short 4-hour session, should be quick." So,
Wait. How do you? Is it Xxtentacion?
Xxtentacion.
Tentacion. Okay.
Tentacion.
I just want to make sure that's clear for anyone who wants to know who X is, in case we haven't made it clear.
Oh yeah, that's right.
So continue.
So I had no idea who X was prior to this.
Right.
So one of the interns at the studio did.
Okay.
And he showed me some of the music. And it was the really hard stuff. It was young
Like
brats
Look at Me
and
or
Look
whatever?
at Me and all that. So I was like, that's what I was expecting.
So sick.
But I was like, oh, this is so dope. This like reminds me of Iggy Pop.
Yeah.
So he came in and we talked for a little bit, and he was just kind of talking to other people. And actually, the first thing he asked me is like, "Are you good at Melodyne?" I was like, "Yeah,
Sure.
yeah, I'm good at it." And then he saw a guitar in the corner, and he was like, "I want to do a guitar song." And he asked everybody in the room who can play guitar. I was like, "I can play guitar. I'm not the greatest. I'm not like super good at it, but I can play." And then he asked Ron Perry, who's like the head of Columbia now, if he can play guitar, and Ron Perry was just kind of like brushed it off. I didn't think he wanted to do it.
Right.
And then one of the interns there was a fucking phenomenal guitar player. So I was like, let me go pull this intern in. He's an amazing guitar player, and he's the guy that showed me who X was.
Oh.
So I was like, he'll probably be super stoked to do this.
Totally.
And he was a hardworking intern. He did all, so I was like, I want to give him this opportunity. So I went, I brought him in, and I can tell he was kind of freaking out a little bit and sweating. But X already had the lyrics written and the melody, so he kind of sang the song with no instrumentation and said, "Can you give me a guitar part to this?" So the intern, I call him Steezy. His name is Stefan.
Okay.
He just played this part, and X loved it.
Was the part written, or was he like coming up with it on the spot?
He just came up with it on the spot.
Yeah.
So if you're in that sort of situation, especially if you're somebody like an intern, like, are you like gunning for credits? Like how much leverage do you have when you're, somebody's asking you to come up with a part and you're...
Again, that's, well, let me get to that part.
Yeah, sure.
I'll get to that part.
Yeah.
Okay. So he writes this part, we lay it down, we lay down the guitar, and then we lay down all the vocals, and X is like, now we need to add drums. So I'm like, okay, well, let me pull some samples in, and he's like, no, I want to do acoustic drums. So then I have, I get all the interns at the studio to set up the drum kit in this tiny room.
As I say, Sniper really set up for that?
It kind of is, but we were in the smallest room.
Okay.
And so we set up the drum kit like as fast as possible. I don't even like think twice about like how I'm miking it. I'm just like overheads, XY, snare mic, kick mic. That's it. No toms. Fuck it. So then they're like, oh well, who's gonna play the drums? And again, look around the room. Nobody knows how to play drums except for me. Like
nice.
I kind of know how to play drums. Like I can keep time, but I wouldn't call myself a drummer. And then I'm like, oh, I'll play drums, I guess. So I go in there, I play some shit, and I come back out and like, well, does he like it? And he's just kind of standing there like silent, and he's like, yeah, that's fire. Like, okay, cool.
Was there a beat on the song already? Like, were you replacing anything?
No, I was just playing.
So you
whatever.
Did this whole track is like ass backwards,
So
like
it's just
vocal,
all
melody,
freestyle.
guitar,
Vocal,
drum.
melody, guitar. Yeah, we did acoustic guitar, then lay down vocals, then background vocals, and then we lay down bass after background vocals.
Which song is this?
Revenge.
Yeah, it says that.
Yeah.
That's wild, man.
That's right.
And then laid down drums, and then did some edits, and then I think like we slowed the song down a little bit, and
that's
did a
interesting.
bunch of other stuff. And this was all X, like this was all coming from his like slow down a little bit, do this and that,
Yeah.
and so did that, and then I did a rough mix on the song, sent it to them. next thing I know, it's on Spotify.
So cool.
And I was like, that sounds exactly like my rough mix. And I put an L2 on there, but I didn't hit it just quite hard enough, so it's kind of low. But in a weird way, like I think that's what, like, I don't know, when you turn that song up, it's like, oh, okay, cool. Like there's like a lot of space and stuff because there's not too much limiting going on and stuff.
And
so
Spotify has some of the normalization stuff.
and like he didn't care.
Yeah.
Like, because I was like, oh, we can remix it. And he's like, no, it's not. It's good.
I mean, clearly it worked out fine for him.
Now it's got like 200-something million plays.
That
on
song
Spotify.
is so cool. We used that as a reference. I was working with an artist before I even realized that it was you who did
really?
it. Yeah,
that's funny.
Just the groove in the drum. There's like a bounce to it and the way that it flows, and it's just like this repetitive chorus kind of thing. But the little interesting background changes and stuff. It's very cool. I really like that. But. So that happened. Mm-hmm. So technically, were you credited as mixer when that happened?
Yeah, so I got credited as mixer, drummer.
Cool.
I didn't get so I don't receive royalties on that song, even though I helped technically write it and stuff.
Yeah, it happens.
At the time, I was like, whatever, like I'll get a session musician fee, So I was like, they paid me a certain amount as a session musician, which is what I asked for.
Yeah, they like paid you out for your service.
That's what I asked for, and that's what they gave me.
Kind of the
I'm
Steve
sure if I would have,
thing.
if I would have asked for points, they would have given it to me. But I didn't ask for points because I wasn't smart enough. But
did you have your lawyer yet?
I did not have my lawyer. And the same with Stefan that played guitar. Also got paid as a session musician.
Got it.
Which is fine.
I feel like when you're at that point though, you're just happy to like be in the room.
I was like, I was like stuck. I was like, I got
a
credit. I got some extra money to play drums. It took me like 30 minutes to play this drum part. Like I'm stoked. Dude.
And that was the first song you'd worked with him, right?
That was the first song we ever.
Yeah, and if you had been too greedy about it, who knows where that could have led?
Exactly.
That's another thing. It's like sometimes, it wasn't a calculated move, but it worked out.
Right.
Because I wasn't greedy about it. I was like, whatever, cool.
That's super interesting.
And then so what happened? Like, X came back to the studio, like 2 or 3 months later, and they had found him a budget engineer.
Okay.
So he came in with a budget engineer, and I got assigned as assistant. And I was really fucking bummed out.
I've had that a few times.
I was like, damn, like I thought that session went so good, like. But so, I mean, what happened was somebody in the team was like, well, let's save some money and hire this other engineer that we are referred to. So I was like, all right, whatever. I'm not going to cry about it, So, I helped him set up for the session, and then, I'm just chilling. And then the producer came in and was like, dude, can you come in and engineer, please? Like, X is getting really frustrated. He's getting pissed off. He's about to leave. So they fired the dude, who was a really nice guy, by the way. Nothing against him. Really cool dude. Just sometimes it doesn't work out.
Yeah,
right.
Totally.
So then they basically told him to go home, and I stepped back in as an engineer. And then that was when we did Fuck Love, and we did that song with Noah Cyrus called Again. And then we did Depression and Obsession.
Those are great songs, dude.
Yeah. So we did that all and that was like a 36-hour session from what I remember.
Damn.
Oh my god.
That was a long fucking session.
Were you literally like in the room, sleeping on the couch, taking turns and stuff?
No, I wasn't sleeping.
36 hours
I was like
straight?
30-something hours working.
Oh my god.
And then after that session, X left to go to another session. So he kept working. I don't know how long that they kept working for, but they kept going, which is insane.
So crazy.
Like after that session, I couldn't even go home. I was so tired. I went and slept on a couch in the studio because I told told the studio manager, I was like, if I try to drive right now, I'm gonna get in a car crash and die.
Yeah.
And he was like, yeah, dude, just go to sleep.
It's cool. I run a studio. I know how this goes.
Yeah.
Go on the couch.
Yeah, exactly. He's like, all right, I get you.
Yeah.
Anyway, so then he just kept coming back to the studio, and we did 17 at that studio.
Got it.
For the all the rest of the songs, and then after 17 was done, we kept in touch. He would call me every now and then, see how I was doing and stuff. And then one day he called me, and he was on house arrest. So he's like, "Hey, I'm building a studio in my house. I just bought a new house in Florida. I'm building a studio. Fly out to Florida. Let's work. So
I'm curious. By building a studio, was it just putting together some stuff, or did he actually kind of build out a space?
He actually hired a contractor that specialized in building studios.
Oh, tight. Cool.
And they built a control room, and then across the hallway they built a live room, which
Cool.
never got used, by the way.
Yeah, I'm sure.
But whatever.
You did vocals in the control room?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You want to talk about how you do that?
Do
you guys use like reflection filters? Did you have speakers on?
So we had a reflection. I hate reflection filters.
I do too. We're gonna talk. We're gonna do a whole vocal thing. I'm gonna talk all about them. But
we had a reflection filter because he thought it looked cool and he liked the way it looked.
Okay.
So I was like, I'm not gonna take it out. You know, it sounded better without it.
Yeah.
But again,
you just make it work. It's about the song. Yeah.
So there was actually like an office chair and the little table and the mic set up off to the side. Mm-hmm. And he just kind of did their vocals right there.
And did you have speakers on, or did you?
No,
okay.
headphones.
Yeah.
Headphones. Cool. But the way he records too is he doesn't like to hear himself in headphones.
Really?
So I do a separate mix for him where his vocals are he's muted.
Right.
The only thing he can hear is what he already recorded.
Right. Sure.
So he hates to hear himself.
But he doesn't mind once it's recorded.
No, once it's there and, like the compression and the EQ is on, there's a little bit of the effects or whatever he likes, then that's fine.
It's not that he didn't like hate his voice. It was just like the mental thing of hearing it in action or something.
He never told me why he didn't like it because he wasn't one of those people that hated his voice.
Yeah.
I was just a thing, I guess.
In the recording process.
In the recording process, he just didn't like to hear himself.
Interesting.
And I can see why, because I know like when you hear yourself in headphones, sometimes it's like it can fuck up your pitch.
Oh, for sure.
So I'm assuming,
and it'll weird people out. Like you hear yourself differently than everyone else because the way your bones vibrate in your head.
Yes.
And then you hear your voice back.
A little trick to that: flip the phase.
Oh shit! I didn't even think about that. I'm gonna try that.
Flip the phase, and you will sound fuller.
Really?
Whoa.
What the fuck?
I've never even heard of that.
And then flip it back out later if you
want.
But,
yeah. That's cool. That's a cool trick.
Yeah.
Okay. I like it. I'm gonna try that in my next session.
Yeah, try it. It works.
Yeah,
anyway, so we did question mark, and I just organically fell into the production side with that because I was I was there with X and John Cunningham, who was the executive producer and like the main producer of the album. And just like, we're just living in this house and just kind of working. And then, I'll throw out some ideas or whatever. Like, for example, we did that song Numb. X had just bought a drum set from Guitar Center and it was in it was in his dining room.
Okay.
And I had this like Apogee 1 interface.
Yep.
And I had like was it Neumann TLM 102 or whatever.
Yeah, the little
so
one.
I just threw that in front of the drums. I hooked it up into the Apogee and I was just jamming to like the acoustic and vocal version of that song.
Yeah.
And I played some drums over it and then, like edited it, whatever. And then I played it to the producer, John, and he was like, oh, this is fire. So like that became the drum part.
Sick.
And you used that recording? Like there wasn't any replacement or anything?
I think we added like kick sample and a snare sample, but like the room that you hear in that song on the drums, it's just that living room. It's the dining room.
That's so fun. That's
and
cool.
One mic just in front of the drum kit.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So yeah, I just kind of felt like little things like that is like kind of how I fell into the production side of it, or like I would be in the studio while John was like working on the production for the for Alone Part 3 or whatever, and I would just be in the back of the room just chilling and like, we should be cool if you did this and that, and then just kind of
So at this
like
point, then, did you have representation here, like lawyer and?
No, I had zero representation.
Were you still a Nightbird?
I was technically yes.
Okay,
but you were at his Florida house, right?
Yeah, but the thing with Nightbird is I wasn't an employee. I was an independent contractor.
Right.
So it's not like I had to be there,
Right.
It was just like, I'm going to Florida. And they were all stoked. So they were like, fuck yeah, dude. This is like what you should do. So.
Well, so now you're doing more production.
I was
more
still doing more
ideas.
engineering.
Okay, so
'Cause we're still doing
you were
Question
seen
Mark.
at that point as the engineer
Engineer and
with
mixer,
ideas.
yeah, still,
Oh,
yeah.
and mixer.
Yeah.
So John wasn't mixing it.
No.
Ah.
John John did mix a few songs
Yeah,
because, like, you know, he had the rough mix or whatever.
and it
Just
just
like, it sounds good. Like,
that's the
we're not
vibe,
gonna,
yeah.
we're not gonna remix it.
totally.
So yeah, we're still tracking. I'm still mixing and stuff. You know, helping with production on the side too. And you know, we finished Question Mark, and it, you know, it came out, did really well. And then I came back here, went back to Florida again, and then we started working on Skins.
Right.
So you know, it was kind of still the same process as like I was engineering, I was helping with production, I was, you know, helping with mixing, and all that. And then what happened after that is me, John, and X all decided like let's all kind of get a house in LA
Yeah.
because X is about to get off house arrest, so he can start flying to LA and we can build a studio in the house. So me and John like found the house, we rented it out, and X was supposed to. There was a separate room for X too. We turned the living room into a studio, and so, you know, unfortunately, before X could come down and live in that house and work with us, you know, the tragic events happened, and you know, he was killed. So, am I like going to like far off?
No,
I think this is
all great,
this is
man.
interesting.
Keep going. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, like at that point, I already had, you know, some of the production credits, and stuff. I had actually co-produced the single off Skins, which is Bad, and I co-produced that with John. So I was already like going more into, you know, the production side of it.
Got it.
And this is even prior to X's death. So yeah, at that point I already had a lawyer and stuff, and I already signed a publishing deal.
Because you had production credits on Question Mark too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. So you had started to get into all of that world.
Yeah, so when Question Mark came out, is when I got a lawyer, and you know, John's like, hey, get a lawyer, and you know,
So John was. This wasn't the label being like, we have to do these contracts that you need to get a lawyer. So John was actually helping you.
yeah, John helped
Cool.
me out. He's like,
Great.
hey, yeah, get a lawyer, you know, like, because I wasn't like, yeah, I need to get like points on this, or whatever. I was like, cool, I was just happy to be there and do stuff. But you
Totally.
know, like John and EXO's like one of the most like generous people ever.
That's great.
Like he offered like the points that he offered me is like way more than what normal points are.
What are normal points?
Normal points is like 3 to 4 points is what you.
And is a point a percent?
percent? Yeah,
Cool.
And we're talking master only here, right?
Yeah, because
and
there's
publishing.
Master and publishing.
Okay, so the mechanical royalty as well as
Yeah, so publishing, it's like, you know, whatever, 25, 50, whatever. So like, you know, if it's two producers and an artist on a song, the two producers get 25, and the artist gets 50%.
Really? And then what about the label?
The label side, I don't really know. The label gets mechanical. Label doesn't get.
They don't deal with publishing.
They don't deal with publishing.
Interesting.
The publishing company deals with publishing.
Right.
So
Okay.
X was with Cobalt.
Right.
So Cobalt, in the publishing sense, what you do is there's a few different types of deals that you can sign with the publisher. Like what I basically have is like I believe it's called admin deal or whatever, where I get 60%, they get 40%, or it could even be like 70-30. So I own most of the rights to my publishing.
Right.
And they get a certain percentage for like, collecting the money and setting
Placing
up
it,
session
yeah,
and placements and stuff. So
Is that different from like BMI and ASCAP and stuff like that?
okay, yes. This is where it gets really.
I wanna know
I'm
all
still,
about
dude.
this.
I'm still like confused because this doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
and
No.
why it's
I'm
so
gonna be real quick. You guys keep going
Okay.
without me. It's okay.
why it's so complicated, and why there's like BMI and then the publishing company
Yeah.
and then this. So yeah, So I'm also with BMI.
Yeah, same.
And BMI collects a different side of the royalties.
Mm-hmm.
So
Because there's also like writers' royalties,
written-
right? Like
There's
that has
also
an
writers,
composition.
yeah.
like.
And there's sound exchange.
Are you getting writing royalties for any of the stuff that you're producing on?
Yes.
Like, okay,
Yeah.
but
'Cause-
that's separate from like the publishing splits you were just talking about.
So you get the publishing split. So you get the publishing for that song, you get the mechanicals for that song, and then you get the writers for that song.
Okay.
And then you get the sound exchange.
So how often does it happen where you negotiate one arrangement with an artist and then later a label or another publishing company comes into the picture and you have to like start over where now they're taking a piece? Is that something you ever have to deal with?
I haven't dealt with that yet. So I don't know. I can't speak on it, but I haven't
All right.
dealt with that yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
How, like, would you have your lawyer, like, and the artist lawyer sit down in a room with whoever else was trying to be part of the publishing
Nobody
arrangement?
sits
Like,
down in a room. It's all done over
It's all-
emails,
really, all right,
emails
yeah.
and phone calls.
All right, yeah.
Yeah.
but everybody's being represented, right?
Yeah, everybody is being represented, and typically you don't really discuss this stuff with the artist.
Yeah.
Oh, huh.
Yeah.
It's just your representation to their representation.
It's just let the lawyers do it. Let the
Yeah,
lawyers
yeah.
handle it. Like if you're really super close with an artist, you can talk about it, but it's just like such a weird thing to talk about with
It
an
like
artist.
sours the vibe.
It
It
Yeah.
totally
you know
kills
what
the
I'm saying?
vibe. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of how Jack and I roll at the studio is. Like he handles
Exactly.
all the money and all the scheduling and has to be the bad cop if necessary
Yeah.
that I can have the good relationship with who I'm working
Yeah.
with and everything's fine.
Exactly.
I'd be blame Jack.
Yeah, blame Jack.
And he'll take it.
Oh, he
knows
loves it. Jack
he
fucking
loves
loves
it.
it. He was born for that.
I
Yeah.
know, it's great. Okay, so I assume I have an idea of what we had missed. So let's go back to timeline for a second. So now you're working on skins
Yes.
and you have already had some placement, all that stuff, and some publishing. So while working, you're just focusing on making the record. You just know, like we were just saying, the suits are going to handle it
Yeah.
and everything's cool. So this is kind of a weird question, but having to work posthumously for the record, how are you able to keep that, for lack of a better term, spirit alive in the record to make sure it held true to everything else? Like,
I just kind of pretend like he was in the room,
yeah,
and I kind of remember, some of the shit he would say when I would do certain things.
yeah,
When I would try to overmix, he would tell me to stop. You
Right.
know? So it was a lot of that. It was like a lot of like back and forth with me because me and John lived in the same house. So like
sure, right. I remember.
we were always working on it together. So
Right.
he would come in and I would show him a mix. And he'd be like, "Yeah, it's not it,"
Mm-hmm.
Or like I'm like, "Yeah, you're right." Like,
Was the pressure, because there's 2 posthumous albums, right?
that's right.
And this was the first of the 2.
Skins is the first.
So
one.
the pressure to be releasing something like this must have been a little different, right? Like,
it was a lot of pressure.
yeah. And
because-
how are you managing that? How are you, that's a big part of our job is handling the pressure and the size of the project as well.
Honestly, like I just try not to think about it too much.
Yeah.
And just like when I mix, just get into it and start mixing. Don't overthink it. Like just remember like the vibe that X really loved, because it was
Yeah.
all about maintaining his vision. Like,
Yes.
not
Right.
like being like, well, he's not here anymore, so we can do this or we can do that. And it's like, no, it's all about maintaining his vision and what he would have wanted. So it's like the end of the day when I'm done with the mix, I'm like, would X like this mix?
Right.
Or would he hate it?
Right.
What would
right.
he say about it? And I would ask John, like, what do you think? Like, what do you think X would say about this? Or he would ask me, like, what do you think? Do you think this is cool? Do you think this is shitty? Whatever. So it was just, it was a lot of that. Just, having the people that were around when, around X kind of like listen to it. And,
Yeah.
and, obviously his mom would listen to it.
Right.
And yeah, it's just, I don't know. I guess I just didn't overthink it. I tried not to overthink it.
Yeah,
It was
yeah.
a lot of pressure. It was a lot of nights that I had trouble sleeping,
Of course.
you know, but when I was in the moment, I was just in the moment.
Yeah, well, I remember the drums we cut ended up not going on, right? They ended
That's
up,
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But while you were here, the vibe of that session was very much like, I mean, it was kind of fun. You got to be producer. I got to be engineer.
Yeah, right.
But it was fun. We're having fun making jokes with
Exactly, yeah.
with Fuego, young Fuego and all the people. And it was super cool.
That's
and
what it was.
I felt that energy. It did not feel like pressure at all. It totally felt like these are fucking rad songs. Like, let's do them justice.
Exactly.
It's cool.
And that's like the mindset that I had every time I would work on the project.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Do you feel like the reception was different, like when you guys released this post, like him passing? Because like there's been a lot of albums in hip hop where rappers albums are released post him passing, like Big, you know, Pac. So like sometimes the rap community is very kind of hard on it, like it's got to be fire, you know, because Pac and Big did it, you know, and those guys are like staples. And the rap fans, you know, the people that take it serious, they don't take it easy on people, on music like that, you know? How do you feel? Like, do you think it was, people took it just as good, or people were like, nah, it's not the same? Like,
there's always going to be the people that saying that it's not the same. Because, you know, a posthumous album is always, by the hardcore fans, is always going to be like, you know, it's not going to be the same. They're going to, you know, like really listen to every minute detail. It's just like a weird psychological thing, I guess, that happens. And, you know, I kind of feel that because, you know, there's artists that I listen to who put out posthumous albums where, you know, you listen to it a lot closer because you're like, you know, is this, you know, for example, you know, David Bowie's album, did that come out posthumously?
No, he released it right before he did.
Right.
He knew he was making it for that
That's
reason.
right, yeah. But, you know, there's been posthumous albums in the past where you're like, and there's been times where I listen to it, I'm like, this is not what the artist wanted.
Yeah, sometimes you listen and I hate to speak poorly on it, but I can't remember which one it is, but there's a Peep song that clearly was not supposed to be a song, and it was recordings he had done, and they put it together to create a posthumous song.
And that happens, you know, I feel like that always happens.
Yeah,
no matter what you do, that always happens. Because part of it's like, we want the world to hear everything that this artist did.
Yeah.
You know, we want all the hardcore fans, you know, to hear all this stuff. We don't want to just keep it locked up forever, you know? It's just, at that point, it's about just don't fuck it up, you know?
And, like, especially with some of the Skin stuff, I remember seeing story posts about some of those songs back when it was in the Florida studio.
Yeah.
Clearly, the intent was for those songs to come out.
No, the intent was for those songs. And then the intent was for those songs to come out. And one of the biggest complaints people had was that the album and the songs were too short. Well, that was also the intent.
Yeah, right.
He clearly was like, I want to make a super short album just to do it, you know?
Yeah, why not?
So he did it. And obviously, like, you know, a lot of people just jump on bandwagons.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Oh, yeah.
You know, so they say shit because they see other people saying it without thinking about it.
Totally.
So, you know, when somebody's like, you know, people are complaining that it's too short, somebody else is automatically going to complain that it's too short.
Yeah, and it started a trend. I mean, how many fucking songs, or either started or followed or was part of a growing trend? How many songs are under 3, under 2 minutes?
Yeah, well,
now?
X always made short songs because a lot of his songs were it's basically like poetry, right?
Yeah.
It was a poem. So it wasn't even a song. It was just a poem with music behind it. So why should it be 4 minutes?
Not to mention, which we had talked about a long time ago, like one of his most brilliant aspects outside of music was his ability to handle social media and understanding replayability and all these things.
People have short attention spans.
Yeah.
So when you have a song that's, you know, minute 45 or 2 minutes, people are going to play that twice.
Yeah. I mean, especially the demographic he was.
Exactly.
It's not like dad rocks listening to
No,
classic
it's
rock
not. Yeah,
songs.
nobody wants to fucking hear a 10-minute solo, you know? It's
Right.
just-
Yeah.
The kids nowadays just want it like quick. And, you know, you can either hate that or love that. I don't have a problem with it myself.
I like both.
I like
both
both.
are totally fine.
Exactly. Some songs are meant to be super short. There's some songs that should be longer, you know?
Yeah.
It's just like, you gotta, I hate, you know, formulaic
Yeah.
Well, the idea that there's like one standard for everything is ridiculous.
Yeah,
you know,
the 3-minute pop music standard is so fucking stupid. Like, who came up with that? And why should it be 3 minutes?
Well, I think it's like the original recorded releases were 78s, and that was like a side on a 78, and it kind of took off because like the first things that they put out on record were operas, so it's like you have like 4 hours of music at like 3 minutes at a time.
But like we're in like 2019.
Yeah,
you know?
this is a
like,
while ago.
Yeah, exactly. Why
Yeah.
are people still thinking about it? Why do people still think about pop music as having the same structure that it's had for like, you know, it's
it's changing.
It's changing.
Intros are going away.
Intros are going
Bridges
away.
are gone.
Bridges,
solos are
done.
gone.
Yeah.
Songs
Yeah.
are starting with the chorus, you know, which again, like sometimes it's great, sometimes it's not. You know?
I mean, the whole industry is changing. So just the ability to be an independent artist successfully is crazy.
Yeah, it's insane. And that's what
Crazy.
X was. He was independent. He had all his deals are just distribution deals.
Right.
He owns all his masters.
It's crazy.
That's
Yeah.
tight. That's tight.
So,
So
nobody can
cool.
tell him anything. You
It's
know?
his work.
It's
And
his work. He owns the masters.
It clearly worked. I mean, what's the rough total streams for X's catalog?
Few billion.
Billions. Yeah, clearly it's fine.
If you go on,
you know?
like, you know, if you go on Spotify and then you go like top songs and it shows you the play count, you know, they're all in the hundreds of millions. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, people love him, dude. Like, especially like people from my brother's generation, like kids that were in high school, man. I remember they would all just post like his videos of his lives with like all the songs in the background and stuff like that. Like, he was, not only was his music like dope, but he was really good at like connecting and like breaking that
that's another
wall
thing.
with people.
Yeah.
Like, he was always on Instagram and Twitter and stuff like that. And speaking of that, I know that he went through times where he had like beefs, I guess. Like, did that affect when you guys were recording? Like, was there more like security for y'all? Like who's that guy? Like, you know what I'm saying?
X hated security.
Got you.
He had, so there was this, one of his close friends, his name was Ice, basically was like his main security, right?
Got it.
But like he hated, like, you know, he the idea of going to this Walmart in his own city and having security with him bothered him because he wanted to be a regular kid.
Of course, yeah. We got
He
to
wasn't
remember.
a kid, but he was, you know, he wanted to be a regular
I
person.
mean, he was a kid. You
yeah, he was
know?
a kid,
Like,
yeah. So
That's a weird life to have at 20.
exactly.
you know?
Like, you know, there was I remember there was one time where we went to the movies and it was X, his girlfriend, his mom, and me. And we're at the movie theater, no security. And this was when, like, you know, Question Mark had already come out. So, you know, he was already, people know like him. So and everybody's just like, oh, guys, and, you know, looking at him like, oh, it's X. And I'm just like, dude, okay, I hope nobody like tries to like run in here and do something stupid. 'Cause
Yeah.
There's no security. Like, I might be able to fight somebody out for a little bit, but I don't know. I'll probably get stabbed in
Maybe,
the process,
yeah.
you know?
It's not your job.
Like, I'm not tough, you know? So, you know, they just, it was just like he didn't want that like part of fame. That
Right.
bothered him.
Right. Sure. Understandably. Okay, so
What was the question?
Just if it changed like the way that you guys move, but you pretty much answered it. Pretty much no. Like he didn't
like
move
we
like
had
that.
security at shows.
Yeah.
There was a lot of security at shows. But some, you know, it depended. If it was a public event, you know, sometimes he would go to the mall and he would have not security, but he would like would meet me, John, X, a couple of his other friends, and this guy Ice, and that's it. And he would go to the mall. He would go on, you know, Instagram or Twitter and say, "Hey, I'm going to be at this mall this hour." And then next thing you know, holy shit, dude, there's like hundreds of kids just flooding,
I'm
like,
sure. Crazy.
and just, you know, there was no security. I mean, the security, like the mall security, had to come in and like kind of hold people back and like try to get things under control. Like there was one time we went to the mall and we had to be escorted through the, you know, the back of the, like through the, whatever you like, the
emergency
basements and the
exits,
inside, the
yeah.
emergency exits of the mall, like where all the employees go.
Yeah.
You know,
That's crazy. So, I want to move into like, I guess more recent, outside of the most recent release, but like now that you've had these credits, you've had these, I guess credits encircle everything, but the publishing stuff and the mixing credits and the production, and you have representation. What are you doing now to get work? Is it just coming to you? Is your manager using these credentials to push onto people? Like, how does work come? How do you deal with all that kind of stuff?
It's like all of the above. So sometimes it'll just be me directly hitting up, either artists that I really like or producers that I really want to collaborate with. I'll hit them up directly. It's, my manager and publishing, like also like using their connections to, say, hey, like there's this artist that I think you'd be a good fit with. Let's set you guys up in a session. So it's, it's, you have to do a little bit of everything.
Yeah. And so this is what I'm curious about, because this is stuff I'm doing and my peers and stuff are doing as well. And everyone's approaching it differently. But for you, so let's say you reach out or your management reaches out to connect you with an artist. Is there anything transactional happening, or you guys just sit in a room, make a song?
We just sit in the room and make a song.
Cool. And then once that song's out,
so you'll sit in a room, you make a song, and then once at some point the artist or his or her representation will hit you up and say, "Hey, we're releasing this song. Let's complete the paperwork."
Right.
So in that case, I'll be like, okay, here's my lawyer. Talk to my lawyer or talk to my manager, and then they'll do all the negotiating and stuff, and they'll send me the contract, a rough contract, which will have the terms. So it'll say, okay, you're getting this much, you're getting this many points, this is your advance, whatever. So at that point, sometimes my lawyer manager will tell me like, oh, this is really shitty, let's ask for more.
Okay.
Or they'll be like, are you cool with it? Do you want more? Or what do you think? And I'll be like, and I'll either tell them like, yeah, let's go with it. Or I'll say, no, like, I don't want this.
Yeah.
Let's get more.
How often do you work without there being any kind of advance or fee aside from points and stuff?
When the song is out?
No, or I mean like going into a situation, like you're working with a new client for you and it's...
So it's not really like a client type thing. So if you're a producer at a certain level, you can actually charge people to be in the room with you.
Right.
Sure.
If you're a Max Martin, I think Max Martin, you got to give him at least 50 grand or something for him to even sit in a room with you.
Right.
I believe that's what it is. That's what I've heard.
Sure.
Some sort of standardized rate.
Yeah, standardized
regardless
rate.
of the number. Yeah.
But most writers and producers, basically, you just get in a room, you make some music, and it's kind of one of those things where you hope it comes out, or something happens. You hope like something great, like some magic happens when you're with that artist.
And so you're not dealing with any sort of day rate or anything like that.
No, not unless I'm mixing or engineering.
Right. Okay. Cool. So and then when you're working with that artist and you do that little production, do you just kind of rough mix it down, or are you trying to like finish this song?
I'll go a little bit above the rough mix just because like I can, I guess.
Yeah, you want to do a good job.
I want to do a good job, and it's like one of those things where like, well, he's also a mixer, and so they're gonna be expecting it to sound a little better than your typical rough mix.
And maybe they come back to you and are like, all right, can we mix this for real? We're gonna release it or whatever.
Yeah. So I mean I try to get it to sound as good as I can, because a part of that's like, I want the artist to be stoked on this, because I want the artist to put that on the album or release it as a single or whatever.
Yeah.
You know?
How often do you have something come out where you're like, I wish I could have spent more time on that?
More time on it? I never, like, production wise, I never let anything go out unless I'm like gonna be stoked on it.
But what about like the artist releases a rough mix or something and you're like, I wish you would come back to me? Does that ever happen?
There's been times where artists released a song that I did that somebody else mixed that I was like, I wish I mixed it, you know?
Yeah.
Same.
But, at the end of the day, like, it's not my album, it's the artist's album.
Right.
Yeah.
So if they're happy with what they got, unless it's just like so bad that it's cringeworthy, then. But I hear like little details and just things that most people probably won't hear.
Right. Of course.
For sure.
Of course. Okay, so advice to up and coming. The ladder you climbed from intern, assistant, engineer, engineer mixer, producer mixer, engineer, really producer mixer. Now you don't really consider yourself much of an engineer anymore, right?
No, I mean so I still engineer a lot of times
just to get stuff done.
Yeah, like if I'm a lot of times the way it works is like if you're the producer, a lot of times you're also the engineer.
Of course, right. But you're considering yourself the producer.
Yeah.
You're not considering yourself really the engineer. You're just
but I
to be
still
engineer.
Right. You know, and then occasionally, like I'll do that session like we did here with Folks and Company where,
you're everything.
I'm recording the band. I wasn't producing that though. I was just purely engineering it.
Even though you were mixing it down, as if you didn't consider yourself to be partially the producer involved?
No, because I mean, when I mixed it down, I just made it sound good.
Cool. Okay.
There was like no production type decisions made really on my end.
Right. Gotcha.
Whatever the band wanted. I was just having fun because it was just a fun session, and I like those guys, so I agreed to do it.
Do you have like a? How do I word this? We'll do this here with rates, where like I learned very early on, if you cut your rate down, that's your rate. Like, do you set a bar for now that you're being at a certain level? Are you trying to say like, I'm this and above? Not price-wise, but just like your involvement with, like, would you ever just be the engineer for something if it wasn't like your friends, or are you strictly doing things on a production level?
If I was if I really liked the artist and the music they're making, of course.
You would just be engineer?
I would just be engineer because I know that just being the engineer, that could also lead to other opportunities.
Good. Yeah. Okay, cool. So back to the original question of someone trying to do something similar to you, where, I took a really different path. I built a room and I do a little bit of working on Zach as the person, but really it's Big Bad Sound as the entity. So working on a freelance type situation like you did, what do you advise to do? Like what's your best advice with the knowledge you have so far?
I mean, it's so like every situation is different, but like I don't know, like my dad always told me like whatever you do it really fucking good. Like like whatever you do, whether you're cleaning toilets, whatever it is that you're doing, anything that you just be really fucking good at it, and build a name for yourself through that. That's the guy that's really fucking good at that,
Right.
And that's just kind of like how I've been, that's the motto that I've taken, and that's what I always try to do, no matter what I'm doing. Luck, I don't really believe in luck, but I believe in setting up situations like where something could happen. Right.
What's the saying? It's like
I forgot what the saying was too.
Preparation meets opportunity or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. And that's all the success that I've had was that. None of it is just really luck.
I mean, it sounds like you went for it. You said, I want to do this. Like, I think I can take on this responsibility.
Exactly. And it's like, I just went for it. And, like, it doesn't always work out either,
of course.
I've taken a lot of L's.
Same.
Yeah.
Same. So, but,
currently taking L's.
Dude, if you're not taking L's, you're not really, you're not doing it right. Like, nobody in this fucking business, like, become successful without taking more L's than they, won.
Yeah.
So be prepared for that and just go for it. If you want to be a fucking recording engineer, figure out where you want, like, what do you want to engineer? Like, you want to record bands? Okay, well then find all the studios where bands are recording, apply for internships, and see what happens. If nobody hits you up and nobody gives a shit and nobody's looking for an intern, then figure out a way to do it yourself. Like, I mean, what I used to do is, like, I had a mobile recording setup, and I would go to bands rehearsal spaces, set up there and record them, and make money doing that. So just because nobody wanted to give me a fucking internship. So,
I mean, similar with me. I wanted to get it. I had one internship opportunity, but I was in school and I couldn't make it work. It was really frustrating. But I struggled to make an internship, and I was like, fuck it. Like, I have the space in the house I was in to kind of make a studio.
Yeah, exactly.
And then people started really liking what we were doing, and I could get better gear. And I was like, all right, well, it looks like my path is a studio, not freelance engineering. You know,
like the mentality should always be that the sky is the limit. Like,
for sure.
Why can't you, have this thing that you want?
Yeah.
If you're really passionate about it and you really want to be good at it, you can have it. Like, just don't believe that there's limits.
Yes.
Don't think that, if like, it's all about knowing somebody. And if I don't know, if it's all about knowing somebody, then start networking.
Yeah, for sure, dude.
Because you never know who you meet. Like, if you might meet one person that really has has nothing to do with what you want to do, but through like all these other people that they know, you might meet somebody that's, a good person to meet, to network with, that could help you out.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean,
don't turn like when you're just starting out, don't turn things down. Like,
okay. I have something I want to ask you about this, because I was late to doing this. When I first started, it was anything and everything, whenever.
Yes.
And part of that was good because it just...
When you're first starting out.
The hours are good, and all that's, getting the hours is good. And even if it was free or for money or whatever, I was just building up a library. But the problem was, a lot of stuff I was doing, the material was not good. Not necessarily my work in it, but just the product, the band or whoever it was. I didn't want to show that to anyone.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But
is that worth getting? Are you hurting yourself? You're
not hurting yourself, because who gives you, when you're first starting out, who gives a shit? Nobody cares.
Yeah.
Right? Nobody knows your name.
Right.
But the end product of that recording might be the songs or whatever, the way they came out might suck.
Yeah.
But like, think about this. Now you've gotten the experience of dealing with different personalities that were in that band.
Right. Even
you
beyond
went
the music,
through the
right?
motions of making that record, so you made mistakes and you learned from them.
Yep.
So, you're taking something away from that. Even if the end product sucks, if it's trash, like whatever, you still learned something from that.
Totally.
You still got lessons that you're going to use later on in your career.
I think that's smart.
Yeah.
And then at a certain point, do you then just say, I need to focus on projects that I feel that I should be involved? Like, it's hard to tell someone they're not good enough, right? Or that, like, maybe they shouldn't be doing this yet.
I mean, that also depends. Like, obviously, if you're a studio owner, you got to keep the lights on.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
If somebody is willing to pay you, I mean, unless like this person is just a fucking nightmare of a person.
Yeah.
Then, I mean, as a studio owner running a business, that's different. You got to say yes to them, right?
Yeah,
like,
for almost always.
Yeah. But, like me, like, not to say that like, I'm too good for,
No,
too
I
good
don't
for
see
all
that
these
way
people
at all.
or whatever. It's just like my time is limited, like I don't have a lot of like, there's not a lot of time. I'm always busy. So like for me, like I want to work on projects that inspire me, that I really like, with artists that I really, really like. Even if that, like, I'll work with an artist if they suck now, but I hear potential.
Yeah.
If anything, that's always like
might be even better. Yeah.
Might be even better
The reward.
because exactly.
That's awesome. That's super cool.
Yeah.
I have two questions.
Go for it.
What's your relationship with Nightbird now? Like, do you work there at all anymore?
I'm not there. I know I'm still cool with everybody. I still talk to everybody. Every now and then I go down there and visit, but no, I don't. It was actually funny because it was around the time that like Question Mark came out and I had come back from Florida and my studio, I wasn't, I was like, I still want to assist and do all this stuff. And my studio manager was like, dude, you already got like big credits.
Yeah.
You're producing, like, I'm not going to call you in to fucking assist.
Mm-hmm.
So like at that point, it's just like I did a few engineering gigs here and there, but like it was just like, dude, you got this thing going on, follow that. Like if I really need somebody, I'll call you. But
so do you work like out of your house now? You got your own setup?
Yeah,
in your crib?
I have a little studio in the house, and then so I work out of there. I work if the artist books out a room, I'll go to wherever they book the room at. Just kind of anywhere and everywhere. One of the great things about nowadays is like you're not limited to to studios.
Yeah.
You know, especially as a producer, it's like you got a laptop. It's kind of all you need.
Yeah.
You know, so like sometimes I'll go up to the mountains.
Wow.
And work in the mountains.
That's
you know, I'll
tight.
take a couple speakers with me and take my little interface and work. You know, a little MIDI keyboard, and I'll work up there.
That's
I've done the
tight.
same.
Yeah, that's really cool.
It's great, man. You get disconnected from the world, and there's like all this inspiration comes to you out of nowhere.
It's cool. For my second question, what was it like working on the Havana record? I feel like that's a really big pop record. Like
It was dope.
Was she? You saw her work? Like, does she write or like?
She
do
does
people
write, yeah.
everything
So
for her?
she had writers, obviously, but she, you know, it's her song at the end of the day. So she really wants to make sure that that song that she's doing is going to be a song that she wants to, you know, sing and be a part of. And obviously that was a super, you know, special, you know, record for her because she's Cuban.
Yeah.
So, and, you know, it was great. Like, she's one of the nicest people I've ever met. And, you know, every time she had come down to Nybird, she always, like, if she had met you, she'd recognize you. She'd come up to you. She'd give you a hug and stuff. So,
That's
like,
tight.
super talented, super cool, very, very incredibly humble.
Cool.
Did you guys cut Doug's verse at Nightbird?
No,
No.
that was probably
Sent.
sent out.
Yeah.
Alex Toomey probably cut that or something. But yeah, I mean, the first time I heard that song, I was like, yeah, it's going to be a hit. Yeah.
When you ended up at Nightbird, did you know that you wanted to be primarily working with hip hop and pop stuff, or was it just like you would take anything?
Actually, that's funny because when I started working at Nightbird, I was like not even thinking about that because you know I listened to hip hop and you know all and R&B and stuff, but that wasn't like my main thing. I wasn't like, oh, I want to work with rappers, you know. Actually, I wanted to work with bands. I want to record live bands.
We did a few bands at Big Bad. We did like that metal band.
Yeah,
like Sabbath.
exactly.
Those guys were so sick.
The Rare Breed.
Yeah, the Rare Breed.
that
That's
was
exactly
awesome.
who it was. A couple cool bands. That's right.
So I wanted to record bands, but you know, I started doing more of the rap sessions, and I was like, oh, this is cool. Like, I really like it. So it's kind of
I think it's
built
rad.
a new respect for it, I guess. Yeah.
And being able to bring that mentality into it clearly helped with all the X stuff. I mean,
Yeah.
you being able to play the drums and understanding this musicality allowed that first song to happen.
Absolutely. Because I wouldn't, you know, if I didn't know how, you know, how to get a decent sound out of a drum set, it probably wouldn't have worked out. If I,
Right.
you know,
Yeah.
just if I didn't know that side of like music, you know, it might have not worked out.
Totally.
That goes back to the whole take anything and anything you can get. You know,
Exactly.
like you weren't like, I'm not gonna do it because it's not bands. You know, you're like, I'm gonna do it. It's rap,
Yeah, of
but
course.
it's my gig and I'm gonna get it done and do it as
You
best as I
never
can.
know where it's going to lead.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
Damn. We're running up on like 2 hours.
God damn,
Damn,
really?
really?
I know.
This is good though, bro. People
It's
can
really
drive
good.
to the
I
shit.
mean,
you know?
we're definitely going to have you back.
Whoever's going to edit this.
That's me.
I'm sorry, Zach.
I'm probably not going to edit very much. I'm just going to make sure there's no weird sounds in it.
Can you take out all my breathing?
Every breath. That's how you get a good vocal sound.
Okay. Is there like a delipper? Because you know what I hate when I listen to podcasts and when I hear this.
I know.
NPR, man, it's
oh,
real
God.
bad. Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
I think it's because they use all those 87s there. It's
Oh,
like
God.
really
They
high.
Yeah.
87?
I'm pretty sure they do. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I'm
wow.
right. It's either them or the BBC. One of those guys. It's like
I
they
think-
got a bunch
I
of
think
87s.
somebody's got to do a podcast with just C800s. Then you can really get that fucking ASMR.
Okay, I want to end with some sort of something for everyone. Advice from you. Now that you're working independently and you're working with both small and big clientele, what's something that you can get early in your career affordably that you, besides your laptop, that you can't live without in the studio? Like, it's a personal studio or taking it somewhere. Like, what's something that you bought that you're like, this always works, and I'm
Something
just
that
going to hold
was
on to it
that
forever?
I bought that was affordable.
Relatively. We'll say, not a C12, but like something that's balances between affordability and quality.
Does it have to be software? Or does
Anything.
Could it be hardware? Okay.
Anything.
I mean, I guess it would be Logic, right?
Yeah,
Or whatever.
sure.
Whatever DAW that you
Is
know,
Logic your preferred DAW now?
for production,
For
yes.
writing and stuff?
For writing and production,
Yeah.
it's
That's interesting.
Logic.
Do you
For-
then mix and
I mix and record vocals in Pro Tools.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, what about do you have your your mic, or do you just kind of record whatever wherever?
I bought a 67.
The new one?
Yes.
Do you like it?
Oh, yeah.
So
I want one.
fucking
I'm
good.
really
Oh
thinking
my
about
God.
selling mine to get a pair of the new ones.
I think-
Wait,
not sure.
selling that? Hey, you gonna sell it to your mic tech?
Oh, I don't know if he'll really buy it or not.
Really?
Bill?
Yeah.
No, not
Oh.
Bill. The really grumpy guy, Toby Foster.
okay.
He's amazing.
Dude, I gotta say, I mean, I've used vintage 67s, and I like this 67 better.
Yeah.
I liked it too.
We've had it in
Yeah.
here. I thought it sounded really good. We've
The
had a
top
couple
end
people
is-
brought them.
It's there.
Yeah.
It's I don't know. It just sounds right.
All right, so everyone, just go buy a 67.
Okay, so everybody
You'll be
save
fine.
up $6,000, buy you 67, and you're set.
I
Yeah.
want the swivel mount though.
Yeah,
It's-
so that's way
nah,
cooler
dude.
looking.
I know the regular mount that comes with it sucks.
Yeah.
Mine already broke.
Yeah.
Shit.
Headphones,
Good headphones.
good
Yeah.
headphones, because
Do you have a pair you would recommend?
I use two. Okay, there's two headphones that I use. I use this Shure SRH 1840s, I think it's called.
Okay.
They're the open back ones. They're
Never
like
used 'em.
$500.
Okay.
They're insanely flat.
Good for
So,
mixing.
amazing for mixing.
Cool.
And then I also like the Audio Technica MH50.
50s.
whatever
50s.
it's
Yeah,
called.
the ATH 50X. I'm buying some
Classic,
for the
yeah.
podcast
Those are
specifically.
great.
Yeah.
Get those. Get Sonar Works.
They're not expensive. Those
and
Audio
you're set.
Technica is like $120 or something. They're
Yeah.
really not bad.
Do you mix on cans a lot?
Not a lot, but I can.
Yeah.
But what speakers do you have? I forgot.
I got the Ampions. The
Oh,
118s.
nice.
Oh my god, dude! I'm sorry. Best speakers ever made.
I
Best
believe it.
speakers
They're-
for mixing. Just
people love them. I
hands
know
down.
a bunch
Dude,
of people that use
they're
them.
just so good. It's like the detail that you get is that was like a game changing purchase for me,
Yeah.
because I was like, oh my god, like my shit is translating and I'm not having to go back and forth to the car and do this and stuff. Like it gave me confidence.
It's great.
That's
It's
tough.
so important, dude.
Yeah.
It's so
So
important.
shout out to Amphion.
nice.
If you can
Sponsor
afford
us.
it, get Amphions.
All right. So, where can people find you? Get in touch with you. Do whatever. Follow you. See what you've been working on.
I guess you can follow me on Instagram at Robbie Soukiasyan.
How do you spell that?
ROBBIESOUKIASYAN.
It'll be in the video too.
Yeah.
The description for everything.
Is this gonna be on YouTube? Because I want to do one of these things in the description down here. You know,
Should we put? Is there a contact for either management or something that we should include? You don't have to say it. We can just put it in the notes. But
just hit me up on Instagram.
cool.
Yeah,
Sick.
I'm like an approachable person. Like I'm not one of those people who are like, yeah, go through management before you even.
Yeah.
like,
Good,
send it
yeah.
out.
I think that's
Just
good.
hit me
That's
up.
dope,
Like,
yeah.
Hell
you know,
yeah.
whatever. Like if you want me to listen to your music, if you're a dope artist, if you're up and coming producer, if you want advice, just fucking hit me up.
That's
on
so
Instagram,
rad,
dude.
dude.
I'm available.
Great. Dan.
At Dan Destiny on Instagram, dandestiny.com.
Yep. At Big Bad Zach, at Big Bad Sound LA.
At B-Rhye X. I'm tired of spelling it. You'll see it in the description.
There you go.
Cool. All right. Well, dude, thank you. This is awesome.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
We have a lot more to talk about,
Yeah.
and we'll definitely do this.
We
We
do
should
a-
do. We should do a really technical one.
Yeah.
We
At some
haven't.
point,
We did a
yeah.
drums one and acoustic one, so
Oh,
we'll
sick.
do one with you.
Yeah.
We'll think of something really fun to do. We'll do a
Yeah.
super technical
We'll
one.
do like a part 2.
Yeah, we'll do
Yeah.
a part 2. We'll get really deep into your setup, and then we'll also do like tracking something
I
interesting.
love getting deep.
Cool. Hell yeah, guys. This has been rad.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah,
Big
thank
Bad Sound
you.
episode 3.
See ya.
Yeah.
Peace.